Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into some source material that is, well, incredibly rich and, frankly, profoundly challenging. It's a short, quite dense text titled Liber Vel Magi sub Figura I.
That's right.
Now, for those of you familiar with the IAS system, you'll recognize this as a publication in Class A.
Yeah, and that immediately signals something important. Class A documents. In this system, they're considered basically divine in origin.
Right. Not to be changed, foundational.
Exactly. So, right away we're dealing with something fundamental, deeply symbolic, not, a simple story or a historical account.
Absolutely. And this text, Liber B, it lays out a series of aphorisms building this, well, complex picture of a specific grade or state called the magus.
It really does. It's dense, symbolic, and just packed with paradoxes right from the very first lines.
It is. So our mission in this deep dive is really to try and unpack this language, explore its core ideas about, the nature and the actions of this magus, and see what insights we can maybe glean from it, but sticking strictly to what the text itself actually presents.
Yeah, no external interpretations for now. Just the source.
Just the source. We're going straight into the deep end here, so let's jump in and see what we can uncover for you.
Okay, let's do it. Starting right at the beginning, point 000. This point, it sort of sets the stage, gives us a fundamental structure.
Right.
It says, 1 is the magus, twain his forces, 4 his weapons. Seems simple enough, right? A single entity operating through 2 forces and 4 tools.
Yeah, 1 being 6 components, clear structure. But then
immediately, the text describes these forces and weapons in a way that is, well, startling. It really introduces the core tension of the whole text right away.
It really does. It says, these are the 7 spirits of unrighteousness, 7 vultures of evil.
7 vultures of evil.
I know. And then it follows this up by saying, thus is the art and craft of the magus, but glamour.
And this is where the text just grabs you, It completely challenges your expectations. How can the fundamental tools of a supposedly high spiritual attainment be called? Well, spirits of unrighteousness. Vultures of evil.
It's not just slightly negative language, is it? It's language you'd normally associate with, chaos, malevolence, destructive forces.
Exactly. And then connecting that directly to the idea that Magus's whole work, his art and craft, is but glamour.
Glamour, like illusion, deception, a misleading appearance.
That's the implication, yeah. It makes you question what the magus actually does. Is their work fundamentally based on illusion? Is this glamour like a necessary tool for operating in a certain reality, or is it an inherent limitation of that grade itself?
It presents this huge paradox right at the start. The magus is one, unified, but his tools are evil and unrighteous, and his work is glamour.
It challenges that simple idea that spiritual power at this level is purely good or, transparent. It forces you to think that maybe in this system, operating at this level involves forces that are profoundly difficult, maybe even destructive from our usual viewpoint.
It really makes you stop and think. You'd expect tools of a magus to be, light, truth, divine power.
Right.
But instead, it's vultures of evil, glamour. It creates this tension. How can this being wield these things, and yet their work is just an appearance? What's that say about the reality they're in, or the nature of their creation?
It forces you, the listener, to consider that maybe powerful forces often have this dual nature, good, ill. Maybe at this level that distinction blurs, or maybe the negative aspect is just how things work in certain realms.
And right after this description, point 00 asks this really pivotal, almost existential question.
Yeah.
How shall he destroy himself?
Right. And it's not framed like a failure, is it? It's posed as a question inherent to being a magus, like self-destruction is part of the deal.
That's a fascinating link. If the magus's state involves this glamour and these challenging forces, maybe the way forward, the next step, involves dismantling that state.
Transcending it.
Exactly. Destroying himself could mean shedding this particular manifestation, moving beyond the realm where glamour and vultures are the way things operate.
Yeah, that makes sense. It implies the magus grade, powerful as it is, isn't the end goal. There's something beyond it. And getting there involves a kind of self-negation, dissolving the magus's current defined function. It's built right into the job description, so to speak.
Okay, let's unpack another layer then. Point 0. This introduces something that seems, well, quite different from the negativity of point 00. It says, yet the magus hath power upon the mother both directly and through love, and then a direct equation. And the magus is love, and bindeth together that and this in his conjuration.
Right, so suddenly we have the mother and love. That's a huge shift in tone, isn't it? The being wielding vultures of evil is also somehow love and has power over the mother.
It is a shift. So who or what is the mother? In a lot of symbolic systems, the mother principle is like the fundamental substance, right? The receptive basis of everything. Bina on the tree of life.
Often, yes. The potential, the material universe. So having power over this principle directly and through love, that suggests different modes of interaction. And maybe direct will, but also an influence coming from the magus's very essence is love.
And that statement, the magus is love, that's profound. Not just uses love, but is love.
And this essence is the source of his power to bind it together, that and this in his conjuration, a unifying function.
But what are that and this? The text doesn't spell it out.
It doesn't. We have to speculate based on the context. It could be divine and manifest, spirit and matter.
Or maybe even the paradoxes from point zero, like the magus's ultimate unity versus the challenging forces he uses.
Possibly. The conjuration is the act that brings these seemingly disparate things together, and the power for that comes from the magus being love.
So how do we square that circle? The magus is love, but uses vultures of evil, and his work is glamour.
The text doesn't explicitly resolve it yet. It just forces us to hold both ideas at once. It suggests a reality where unifying love and, well, destructive forces aren't mutually exclusive at this level.
Okay, and here's where it gets, for me anyway, really interesting, maybe the most challenging part for our usual thinking. Point one.
Yes, the truth paradox.
Exactly. It states, in the beginning doth the magus speak truth, and send forth illusion and falsehood to enslave the soul.
Right. The direct result of the magus speaking truth is illusion and falsehood, which then enslaves.
That just flips everything on its head. We think of truth as liberating, right? Enlightenment, freedom. But here, the ultimate truth from the magus creates the very things that bind illusion and falsehood.
It sounds disastrous, doesn't it? Speak truth, enslave souls with falsehood.
It does. But then the text adds this absolutely crucial phrase.
Yet therein is the mystery of redemption.
Yes. That changes everything. The enslavement isn't the end. It's somehow part of a process containing the secret to redemption.
So the sequence is, magus speaks truth, generates illusion, falsehood, souls get enslaved by these. But within that enslavement lies the key to redemption.
How can that work? How can falsehood, born from truth and leading to bondage, hold the secret to liberation? This feels absolutely central to understanding what the magus is for in this text.
It suggests the illusion and falsehood aren't just mistakes. They're necessary, maybe even deliberately crafted parts of a larger paradoxical mechanism for, I don't know, spiritual growth.
Yeah, transformation.
A mechanism that leads to redemption. The enslavement isn't a bug, it's a feature, a stage. And the way out is hidden inside the experience of being bound by the falsehood that came from truth.
It really forces you, the listener, to grapple with this. What if the things we see as obstacles, as deceptions, are actually necessary conditions from a higher viewpoint? Conditions that contain the seeds of getting beyond them. It challenges our whole binary way of thinking about truth and lies. Moving on, point 2 connects the magus directly to creation and the divine, elevating the concept even more. It says, by his wisdom made he the worlds. The word that is God is none other than he.
That's a huge statement. It aligns the magus with the ultimate creative principle, the source of the cosmos, making the worlds through his wisdom.
And identifying him with the word that is God, the logos, right? The divine utterance that is creation in many traditions. To say the magus is none other than he, that places the magus right at the heart of divine creativity.
It does, which, again, contrasts so sharply with the vultures of evil and glamour. It just deepens the paradox. He's the source of divine creation and the wielder of challenging forces, whose work seems like illusion and generates falsehood.
Okay, let's look at points 3 and 4. These seem to circle back to that self-negation idea from 0-0, pointing towards a state beyond the magus's defined role.
Right. Point 3 asks, how then shall he end his speech with silence? For he is speech.
And point 4, he is the first and the last. How shall he cease to number himself?
These are rhetorical questions, aren't they?
Yes.
Highlighting the inherent contradiction. If his very essence is speech, the creative word, how can he just stop? Choose silence. It's like asking vibration itself to choose stillness.
And if he is totality, the first and the last, covering everything, how can he step outside that, cease defining himself within that sequence? It's conceptually tricky. How does the all stop being the all?
These points really reinforce that idea from point 0-0 about destroying himself. They suggest the state beyond the magus is one of silence, maybe undifferentiated being, where definition, numbering, even the active creative word just stop.
It's not just stopping work. It's ceasing to be the magus as defined by his actions and his place in the cosmic order.
Right. It implies that even being the creative word isn't the final destination. There's a transcendence even beyond that into something maybe prior to manifestation, beyond definition.
Now, points 5 and 6 take a fascinating meta-turn. They talk about the transmission of this very text we're reading.
Yes, important context. Point 5 says, by a magus is this writing made known through the mind of a magister.
So that tells us about the hierarchy. Magus, a high grade, transmits to a magister, the grade below. And it describes the process. The one uttereth clearly, and the other understandeth. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? Clear communication.
A direct line from a higher source to a receptive mind. It implies a specific method of transmission for these deep truths. Magus is the source, magister apprehends and writes it down.
Here comes the paradox again, echoing point 1. The text immediately says, yet the word is falsehood and the understanding darkness. And this saying is of all truth.
This is just extraordinary. It directly undermines the idea of clear transmission. The magus speaks clearly, but the result is a word that is falsehood, and the magister's understanding is darkness. How does that even happen?
Yet the statement about this process is declared of all truth.
It takes that paradox from point 1 truth, creating falsehood, and applies it to the very text in our hands. The communication itself is subject to the magus's nature. It's a truth passed through a medium, the magus's perceived word, that inherently distorts it into falsehood, leading to an understanding that's darkness compared to the real thing.
So it puts us, the readers, in a really strange position. We're told up front that what we're getting, while rooted in all truth, comes through channels where the word is falsehood and the understanding is darkness.
Right. It demands a different way of reading, doesn't it?
Well,
we can't just take it literally. We have to look through the words, knowing the surface form is somehow a distortion or obscuration of the underlying truth. It's like a built-in warning label.
And point 6 gives the reason for this difficult text existing at all. Nevertheless, it is written, for there be times of darkness, and this is as a lamp therein.
So, despite all the problems with its transmission, the falsehood, the darkness, it still serves a vital purpose. It's meant as guidance, illumination, a lamp, specifically for times of darkness.
Like states of confusion, or when other lights have gone out.
Exactly. It suggests the knowledge, however paradoxical, is practical and necessary for navigating those difficult periods. It's a tough truth in a tough form, but offered as essential guidance.
Okay, so we've wrestled with the magus's paradoxical nature, his tools, love, creation, that weird truth-falsehood dynamic, even the text's own transmission. Let's go back to those tools from point 00, the 4 weapons. Point 7 through 10 detail their functions.
Right. Point 7, with the wand createth he. This connects directly back to the magus as creator, the wand embodying the will, the word making worlds.
Makes sense. Wand equals will, creation.
Point 8, with the cup preserveth he. The cup, often the grail, represents reception, holding, sustaining life or essence. So this is the tool for maintaining existence.
Keeping things going. Yeah.
Point 9, with the dagger destroyeth he. The dagger, sharp, cutting, tool of analysis, separation, ending things, change through dissolution, the necessary opposite of creation.
The destructive aspect. Got it.
In point 10, with the coin redeemeth he. Now this one's interesting. The coin, usually earth, manifestation, value, using it to redeem. What does that mean? Bringing something back, restoring value, transforming something within the material world.
Especially given the earlier mentions of glamour and the mystery of redemption, maybe the coin is how the illusion gets formed and then somehow resolved or redeemed within that form.
It's possible. So these 4 wand, cup, dagger, coin map closely to the traditional 4 elemental tools, fire, water, air, earth. But here they're specifically the magus's means of operation. Creation, preservation, destruction, redemption.
And we have to keep remembering these are the actions performed using the tools associated with those 7 vultures of evil. That deep paradox is always there. The tools of creation and redemption are somehow linked to these darker forces.
And point 11 adds a really crucial layer about these actions, and it sets a major limit on the magus's own understanding.
Yeah.
His weapons fulfill the wheel, and on what axle that turneth is not known unto him.
Okay, that's huge. So his actions, creating, preserving, destroying, redeeming, they're all part of some grand cosmic cycle, a wheel. He participates in it, maybe even drives it with his actions.
But on what axle that turneth is not known unto him. The ultimate principle, the origin, the fundamental why or how that drives the whole cycle. It's beyond the Magus's comprehension.
So even at this incredibly high level, identified with the creative word, there's a boundary. He operates within the cycle, but doesn't grasp the absolute source or driver of the cycle itself.
Exactly. It establishes a limit to his knowledge, his perspective. It's a powerful reminder for us, the listeners, that even the highest states described in a system might still exist within a larger mystery that transcends even them.
And this leads right into point 12, which talks explicitly about the path beyond this active role.
Yes. It says, from all these actions must he cease before the curse of his grade is uplifted from him, before he attained to that which existed without form.
Crystal clear and pivotal. The condition for transcending the limitations, the curse of the Magus grade, and reaching a higher state, that which existeth without form, is stopping the very actions that define the Magus. Creating, preserving, destroying, redeeming.
It echoes that, how shall he destroy himself? From point 00. The way forward is to abandon the active, defined function. The state beyond is formless, not bound by operating within the world of form. Getting there means letting go of the powers and duties that characterize the Magus.
And it mentions the curse of his grade being uplifted, so the curse is tied to these actions.
Intimately tied, as we'll see. The path to freedom from the curse isn't about doing the actions better, but stopping them entirely, transcending by relinquishing the role.
Okay, then points 13 and 14 bring this down to earth a bit. They talk about when the Magus is manifested upon earth as a man.
Right, and it says, therefore is this present writing, implying Liber B is specifically for an embodied Magus. It gives the method for dealing with and ultimately lifting that curse or burden.
So practical application. But then point 14 throws another curveball. Let him beware of abstinence from action. Wait, didn't point 12 just say he must cease from actions?
Another of the text's brilliant, maddening paradoxes.
Yeah.
But point 14 clarifies immediately which action he must not abstain from and why.
Okay.
It explains, for the curse of his grade is that he must speak truth, that the falsehood thereof may enslave the souls of men.
So the curse is that specific, terrible duty. His core function, the nature of the grade, is to speak an ultimate truth which results in a falsehood and enslavement for others, and he must do it. He can't abstain from that action.
Exactly. The text isn't saying stop everything right now. It's saying that core action is your curse, and you absolutely must not avoid it. To lift the curse eventually, you have to perform this specific action, uttering that truth falsehood, but do it without fear.
Without fear, that's the key.
Yes, that the law may be fulfilled.
Wow. That is profoundly difficult. The path to freedom from the burden lies through fearlessly doing the very thing that is the curse, the thing that harms others by creating falsehood and enslavement.
It's not going around the curse, it's going right through it. Embracing its terrifying nature, performing it fearlessly, to fulfill some higher law and ultimately transcend the grade.
You have to fully live the curse to get beyond it.
And point 14 adds a bit more nuance. It says, this law is shapen according to his original nature. It gives examples based on background.
Right, so that one may declare gentleness and quietness, being in Hindu, and another fierceness and servility, being a Jew, and yet another ardor and manliness, being an Arab.
The text is suggesting that while the core function speaking truth that creates falsehood enslavement is the defining law, the style or manner of expression is influenced by the individual Magus's inherent nature or background. Those examples are about the how, not the what.
And it mentions this relates to the mystery of incarnation, which we won't explain further here. So there's a deeper context about how the divine Magus nature interacts with being human.
Right. So for you listening, maybe the most challenging takeaway about the Magus's action is this. His required job, his core expression, is paradoxical and harmful to others. But fearlessly doing that very curse is the necessary step to fulfilling the law and moving on. Suddenly, those vultures of evil tools and the glamour make a bit more, albeit terrifying sense.
Okay, let's shift focus slightly. Point 15 lays out a hierarchy and the mysteries associated with different grades. This helps place the Magus.
Yes, it gives us a structure, Magister, mystery of sorrow, Magus, mystery of change, Ipsissimus, mystery of selflessness, which it also calls the mystery of Pan.
Okay, so a clear progression. The Magister, who transmitted this text, deals with sorrow. The Magus, our focus, embodies change, which fits perfectly right. Creation, destruction, cycles, needing self-destruction to move on.
Absolutely. And the state beyond, the highest one mentioned, Ipsissimus, is about complete selflessness, merging with Pan, the all.
So how does the Magus work through these? Point 16 gives the method.
Right. It says, he contemplates each mystery, sorrow, change, selflessness, raising it to the ultimate power of infinity.
Raising sorrow to infinity, change to infinity, selflessness to infinity. That sounds like a very specific, intense kind of meditative practice, pushing the concept to its absolute limit.
And the text tells us the result. At infinity, the apparent differences dissolve, wherein sorrow is joy, and change is stability, and selflessness is self.
Wow, that's a huge statement about non-duality. At the ultimate level, opposites aren't just balanced, they are each other. Deepest sorrow is highest joy. Constant change is ultimate stability. Losing the self is finding the true self.
A powerful insight into the nature of reality as described here. But the text is careful to note this isn't just thinking about it.
Right, it says, not be simple meditation, how much less then by reason, but by the method which shall have been given unto him in his initiation to the grade.
So it's a specific technique taught during initiation, a potent method meant to shatter conventional understanding and lead to this non-dual realization. It also adds, the interplay of the parts have no action upon the whole, meaning from that infinite viewpoint, the individual flavors of sorrow, change, selflessness don't actually affect the ultimate totality.
Okay, point 17 describes even more contemplation, building on this, combining the resolved trinity, sorrow, joy, etc., then combining other big concepts, Sat Chidananda,
Yeah, being consciousness bliss from Vedanta.
and light, love, life. It says combine these 3 by 3 into 9 that are one.
It sounds like a complex, structured synthesis meditation. You take the resolved mystery, one concept, Sat Chidananda, one concept, light, love, life, one concept, contemplate them as 3, then maybe 9 parts, then resolve everything into one single realization, integrating these huge principles.
And success in this leads back to something experienced much earlier.
Exactly. It shall be that which was first adumbrated unto him in the grade of practicus. It connects this peak attainment back to an initial glimpse in a lower grade, linking it to the practicus reflecting Mercury down the tree of life, and referencing another text, Liber Vel 7. Here is nothing under its 3 forms.
So the ultimate realization, the ipsissimus state, is linked back to a fundamental concept of nothing met earlier on the path. The journey isn't just linear up, it spirals back, returning to the void, but this time with full understanding.
That which existeth without form, from point 12, could very well be this fully realized nothing.
And point 18 makes the connection explicit, and this is the opening of the grade of ipsissimus, and then it gives a cross-reference.
Yes, and by the Buddhists, it is called the trance Nirodha Samapatti.
Nirodha Samapatti. Okay, that helps ground it. This highest state, ipsissimus, selflessness, pan, it's being directly equated with a known state in Buddhism.
Right. Nirodha Samapatti is often described as this profound trance of cessation. Mental activity, feeling, perception, just stop. It's seen as a very high level of meditative absorption, close to nirvana itself.
So providing that link suggests this text, despite its unique symbolism, is describing a state of realization recognized across different spiritual traditions.
It certainly anchors it. Now, the text wraps up with some incredibly strong warnings, really emphasizing the necessity for the magus to fulfill his role.
Point 19 hits hard. It's repetitive, forceful, and woe, 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 yea, woe, and again, woe, 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 unto 7 times be his that preacheth not his law to men.
7 times woe, that's about as strong as you can get. And remembering that his law is to speak that paradoxical truth-falsehood, points 13 and 14. This is saying he's under an absolute terrible obligation to perform that function for humanity, no matter the consequences for others.
Failing to do so brings ultimate condemnation. It reinforces that the curse is the law he must enact.
He can opt out. And point 20 reinforces this from the other side. And woe also be unto him that refuseth the curse of the grade of a magus, and the burden of the attainment thereof.
So you can't just accept the cool parts of being a magus. You have to accept the whole package deal, including the curse and the burden. Refusing those means failing the path described here.
They are integral, part of the identity, essential steps towards ipsissimus. You have to embrace them.
And then the very last point, point 21, it seals the whole book with just one word.
A very potent word. And in the word chaos, let the book be sealed. Yea, let the book be sealed.
C-A-O-S. Why end with that? For a text about a being who creates worlds with wisdom in the word, it seems like the opposite.
Given all the paradoxes we've discussed, truth making falsehood, change being stability, love wielding evil, maybe chaos represents several things here.
Like what?
It could be the underlying state before creation, the undifferentiated potential. The magus's word shapes. Or maybe it's the state after, the formless state. Point 12 he aims for, the dissolution back into that unbounded potential, the ipsissimus state itself.
Or maybe it just represents the fundamental nature of the reality he works in. A reality where order and disorder, truth and falsehood are tangled up, where creation needs destruction, where everything arises from and returns to chaos.
Could be. The unpredictable, paradoxical nature of the Magus' whole job might just be best summed up by chaos.
Or maybe it's the ultimate perspective, the viewpoint of infinity where all the opposites collapse. From that absolute undifferentiated viewpoint, maybe all the ordered systems and distinctions just resolve back into a fundamental non-dual chaos that contains everything and nothing.
It's a powerful, ambiguous final note. Leaves you thinking.
So we've journeyed through Liber Vel Magi sub Figurae. It's not a text for easy answers, is it? It presents this incredibly complex, paradoxical vision of the Magus grade.
A being who is love and divine creator, yet uses tools of evil and generates falsehood from truth, whose art is glamour, whose job is a curse that enslaves, but doing that job fearlessly is the only way forward.
We saw how the text places the Magus within a progression linked to change between the Magister's sorrow and the Ipsissimus's selflessness, or Pan.
And we touched on that intense contemplative path towards Ipsissimus, where opposites merge at infinity, a state explicitly linked to Nirodha Samapati.
And it leaves us with those stark warnings, woe if you don't do the job, woe if you refuse the burden. The path is defined by embracing the very thing that seems most negative.
And sealed with chaos, inviting us to ponder the ground from which all this arises and dissolves. Is it the source, the goal, the nature of reality, the ultimate viewpoint?
This deep dive hopefully gives you a framework to start unpacking these complex, sometimes startling ideas yourself. What really stands out most to you after hearing about this vision, this Magus, his function, his paradoxes, the path beyond?
What questions does it raise for you about truth itself? About the purpose of things we see as negative? About what real spiritual attainment might look like, maybe beyond our simpler notions?
These texts, they aren't really meant to give answers, are they? They're designed to provoke, to make you think, contemplate, explore internally.
Exactly. The paradoxes aren't flaws in the writing. They're descriptions of a reality that maybe operates on principles beyond our everyday logic.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep making those connections based on what the source material itself reveals, even when, maybe especially when, it's challenging.
Until the next deep dive.